Hello. Today we're going to be looking at a fight between Sergey Kolteyev and Antony Olbritsky. It's from the Swordfish 2018 Longsword Finals. I'm picking this fight. One, it's a very long fight. We're not going to watch the whole thing. But particularly, I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the Geisling. Now, for people who don't know, a Geisling is a move where essentially you, assuming you're right-handed, you take your right hand off of your two-handed sword, your longsword. You throw with your left hand the weapon at its extended reach all the way out, and you generally want to target your opponent's lead leg. The reason you do this is that going to one hand and extending with that left hand forward gives you that extra 10 inches of reach that's on your grip. And it allows you to hit people who are normally outside of range with a cheeky little leg snipe, and then you have to run away. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to watch the exchange that happens.
It's his first time at Swordfish.
Which is right there.
Oh!
And what we want to talk about is why Geislings work, why they don't work, and how you can respond to them. So the first thing to talk about with the Geisling is that it takes advantage of the fact that 99% of the time, a person's lead leg, along with their hands, is oftentimes the most close target to you. Whereas their hands have a crossguard to protect them, and people are consciously usually looking out for that. Leg shots are significantly harder to protect yourself from. You can't really parry that low because lowering your point that far to the ground usually gives you no advantage, and they're very, very hard to parry because they're very, very fast. You have no crossguard. You have nothing really down there to protect you. And most importantly, it's your leg. You can't move your leg in the same way that you can move your hands or your head or your torso, because in order to move your leg, you have to shift your weight backwards off of that leg and then move it. That two-step process is entirely different from, say, your hands, where you can just move them. There's no weight on them. They're not holding you up. So we're going to watch the exchange again at a frame by frame. And what people need to pay attention to is how exactly the footwork is used to set this up. So as an example, which we'll play until we get to the actual part here.
First time.
Right before this Geisling is thrown, you want to pay attention to the feet. Now, I know they're mostly obscured by this little information bar here, but what you want to look for is right as Olbritsky is about to throw the Geisling, he presents a bit of a threat by faking to lunge forward, which Sergey responds to by shifting backwards because he's ready for some kind of attack. Taking advantage of this, where Sergey was maybe looking to counterattack as soon as he could parry, he lands this leg shot, which Sergey cannot move away in time because, as you see here, there was too much weight on this leg. When Sergey tries to pull his leg out of the way, he does this weird little dance with his front leg, and you can see his weight shift directly down. That's because he essentially tried to move a leg that had weight on it. And the second you try to pick up your leg when there's weight on it, you just go right back down. And your leg stays exactly where it is. It gets hit. And then after, of course, it's done, Olbritsky is already leaving the engagement. And Sergey has the almost impossible task of trying to catch up to him and hit him with an attack that, is probably of shorter range and of slower capacity than someone who's already leaving the engagement. So again, what it looks like at full speed, you get that leg shot,
It's his first time at Swordfish.
and you're basically out scot-free as long as you planned accordingly. So the question is, what can be done about this? Well, I believe that the one thing that can be done is to change the footwork used when attempting to slip the Geisling. As we saw with Sergey, his footwork cost him a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it resulted in a situation where he had to explode forward as fast and as hard as he possibly could, just with the hope of reaching Antony before he had already left the engagement. This is an example of me fighting Tanner from a couple of years back, and we actually have a similar situation that happens. So as you can see there, Tanner throws a Geisling, only I slip it and I return an afterblow. But the reason that this works for me and it didn't work for Sergey is that despite the fact that we're in a similar situation, I do a very different kind of slip than Sergey. So what I want you to watch is my feet. Right now, Tanner is trying to throw the Geisling. He's doing the same sort of footwork that we saw Obretsky do. He's putting forward a kind of lunge that's presenting a threat to me, only he's going low and for the leg. Now, instead of simply trying to pick up my leg, or as we saw Sergey do after he was hit with the Geisling, throw both of his feet backwards and then explode forward, I push backwards with my front leg and scoot it back about basically the width of my foot. We'll say like 5-6 inches. Now, the reality is I did manage to dodge this Geisling, but as you can see from the footage, it comes within a hair of hitting me. So we're just going to assume for a second that this actually did land, because the importance of this footwork is that it works even if you get hit. Now, the second this Geisling misses, which is right here, look at the difference as to where my feet are, and most importantly, where my hands and my blade are. My blade can almost touch Tanner here, where in the exact same example with Sergey, he had thrown both of his feet back after he was hit, and as such, had to watch Anthony essentially take a full step backwards and leave the engagement before he was able to throw his afterblow. Because I do such a short little slip, and because I extend my arms forward as I slip, I'm in a perfect opportunity and a perfect position to throw a quick little stab right back to my opponent's neck within frames of that attack missing. So we'll say this is where it would have landed. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 frames before my stab is already back in there. Compare that to Sergey. It took him a whole 4, 5, 6 frames just to move his foot after it was hit all the way back to his other foot and then explode forward. That crucial bit of time is what gave Anthony the ability to leave the engagement and safely deliver that strike.